The truth is still out there. Is the answer really 42? The optimum angle for white light to refract through water and thus form a rainbow is between 40.89 and 42 degrees. The number 42 was the first number to be retired from any professional sport. It was worn by Jackie Robinson, the man that broke the color barrier. There are two physical constants in the universe that are the speed of light and the diameter of a proton. It takes light 10 to the minus 42nd power seconds to cross the diameter of a proton. Because Google says so. So what is the question, you ask? Let's hunt that together. Welcome to episode 3 of the Breakin Broncos Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Wetstein, and today I have a top 5 list for you to debate, less fun injury news, reviews, previews, and all of our favorites, more picks as I look to continue my winning ways despite the Broncos' losses. Let's get started. This week started like the last two, another litany of injury news, but we will not be starting off this week's episode with another reading of that laundry list. Instead, I decided to honor the late great Gale Sayers and created a top 5 list of all-time all-purpose players in NFL history. I actually recorded this for a project in class, but wanted to share it here and further the discussion. Please, leave your thoughts in the comments or any of my social media accounts. I was originally going to talk to you today about the top 5 list of the NFL's best quarterbacks under 25, but in the light of the death of the great Gale Sayers, I'm going to pivot and bring to you my top 5 all-purpose players in NFL history. We start our list with Brian Mitchell. I know some will lambaste me for putting a man with less than 200 yards shy of Jerry Rice's all-purpose yardage record at 5th on the list, but I will point to the preface all-purpose. Mitchell had minimal impact on the offenses he was a part of. He wasn't there for that. The best of the pure kick return specialists with 23,330 all-purpose yards and 29 touchdowns in 13 seasons. Number 4 will be Eric Metcalf. This man amassed 17,230 all-purpose yards and 55 total touchdowns from 89 to 02. Not many remember the name, but the man was a game changer no matter where you lined him up, just like everyone else on this list. Number 3 will be a familiar name, Herschel Walker. Most people remember the trade, but not many remember the man. But I am here to remind you that he transcended the running back position the way only Gale Sayers had done before him, accumulating over 4,500 yards receiving, rushing, and returning. The only man in NFL history to do so. Oh, and he also scored 84 touchdowns. He was a true home run hitter, no matter his positioning. Number 2 is Darren Sproles. I know many may scoff at this positioning for what many pass off as merely a role player. As a Broncos fan, I can attest to just how dangerous this man was every time he touched the ball in space. He, along with the aforementioned Herschel Walker, are the only players to amass more than 3,500 yards receiving, rushing, and returning. He amassed a total of 19,969 all-purpose yards, 5th all-time, and 64 total touchdowns. He was lightning in a bottle set free upon the football field. And of course, number 1 is Gale Sayers. The man, the myth, the legend. May you rest in peace knowing you are one of the all-timers. His career was brief, but impact everlasting. In just 5 full seasons, he accumulated over 9,000 all-purpose yards and 56 total touchdowns. The best superlative I can think of when watching this man's highlight reel is simply smooth. I know that had nothing to do with the Broncos, but it had to be much more entertaining than me talking about things like Philip Lindsay is doubtful with turf toe and Jerry Jeudy is questionable with a rib injury, right? I mean, it couldn't have been worse than hearing there is still no good news on Drew Lock, Von Miller, and Cortland Sutton. Maybe the news that Shane Falco and the replacements, Jeff Driscoll and company, will only have to deal with one elite rusher and ex-Broncos Shaq Barrett, as Jason Pierre-Paul is questionable with a knee injury and has not participated in practice up until Thursday. This is their only significant injury to date. Tampa Bay is one of the few that has eluded that dreaded injury plague so far. So which do you prefer? Now I digress. Enough with the dreaded present. Let's look to the future, as all these injuries to key players has many in Broncos country talking about the 2021 draft and the ever-popular tank for Trevor mantra of 0-2 teams. This is because many are looking at numbers like this. Since the NFL adopted the 12-team playoff format in 1990, 88% of teams that started 0-2 missed the postseason, while 62% of the teams that started 2-0 advanced to the playoffs. But when you look at the same numbers since the NFL realigned in 2002, nearly 61% of the teams that emerged from an 0-2 or 1-1 start went on to reach the Super Bowl. The 2007 New York Giants, for example, started 0-2 and went on to win the Super Bowl. Now, according to OddsShark, since that 2007 season, 98 teams have started 0-2, and only 12% of them have made the playoffs. The point is, the season is still young, and anything can happen once Drew Lock comes back if the Broncos can steal at least one win while he is out. Now, if they win 2, all bets are off. That's it. That's all it could take, with some injury luck, of course, to keep this team at least relevant and fun to watch for the duration of the season. I cannot jump on the bandwagon that would not only restart the franchise at the QB position, but more than likely cause wholesale changes across the board. Does anybody in Broncos country want to reset back to 2016 and start again? That is what tanking for Trevor truly means. This team is only a few pieces away from being truly dangerous and a legitimate threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West. But that is only my humble opinion. What say you, Broncos country? Should the Broncos go all in for Clemson sunshine? Or do you believe in this team the way I do? There will be a poll up on Twitter and the Answer is 42's Facebook page. Sound off and let me know your thoughts on this, the top 5 list from before, and coming up, I will give a review of the Pittsburgh game and preview of the Tampa Bay matchup. I just want to make sure if you are wanting to use my picks or just make your own, make sure you give our sponsor BetMGM a look. Just download the app and use promo code ABONUS, that's ABE bonus, to get free bets. Also, follow all of us betting experts from AmericanBettingExperts.com on Twitter for weekly competitions and free money given away constantly. Just follow @CO Sports Fans, that's sports with an S, and DM them for details. Welcome back to Breaking Broncos, part of the Answer is 42 Network with your host, Daniel Wettstein, and thank you for sticking with me. Now, we get to talk about that insane and heartbreaking loss that was handed to the Broncos on Sunday. After losing Drew Lock early on to a shoulder injury and a 17-3 deficit at the half, had everyone thinking that Pittsburgh was about to walk away with this one, myself included. Then, an 11-0 run by the Broncos in the third quarter brought the game within 3 points going into the fourth. Then Big Ben found the fountain of youth for a drive and did his best impression of a man 10 years his younger, threading the needle to Deontay Johnson off one leg on the run, in between 3 defenders, putting the ball where only his receiver could get it. This after an earlier play on that same drive that saw Juju Smith-Schuster catch a ball that deflected off 2 bodies for a first down despite perfect coverage on the play. Many will point to this drive, or the seemingly slanted officiating, as the reason for the loss. I have a different view. KJ Hamler taking the ball out of the end zone with 11:26 to go in the game, and only getting it back to the 13-yard line that led directly to a drop snap by Sam Martin that ended with him tackled in the end zone for a safety. This took the score to 26-14 Pittsburgh up, and made the difference between the Broncos kicking a game-tying field goal with 1:55 to go and Jeff Driscoll getting tackled for an 11-yard sack on 4th down from the Pittsburgh 15-yard line. So instead of Pittsburgh taking over with the momentum of a 4th down stop, as they did, they would have taken over with a full field to try and win the game against a defense that was playing extremely well despite having 4 starters down. This is another reason why I do not believe in tanking with this roster. You are trying to regain the winning culture Denver is known for. You will never complete that mission by prescribing to losing for pipe dreams. And this roster has one thing, that is a strong chin with an iron will. They just won't quit. You should never discourage that, regardless of the results. Now, I also believe this weekend will give me even more reason to believe this as they take on Tampa Bay and the familiar face of Tom Brady. Even though Tom will have a fully healthy starting receiving trio of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and O.J. Howard, I do not see them walking away with this one. These offenses are remarkably similar despite the apparent disparity in talent, as both are ranked in the bottom 10 of the league in every category. With a full game and almost another half, more than Jeff Driscoll and those receivers that we just talked about, Tom Brady only has 200 more passing yards than that aforementioned Jeff Driscoll. Man, I don't know why I can't say his name today. Now, if you take away the late 59-yard run by James Conner, Denver is in the top 15 of the league in total yards allowed and rushing yards allowed per game. So that could spell trouble for Tom Brady in that passing offense. Now, that may not sound like much, but this is again a defense without Von Miller, A.J. Boye, Mark Barron, Devontae Harris, and Shelby Harris for most, if not all, of the season so far. A combo of Bryce Callahan, Michael Ojemudia, a 2020 third-round pick, and Isang Basie, a 2020 undrafted free agent, has held opponents to just 10 passing yards less per game than this Tampa defense. This without the benefit of two elite rushers that Tampa boasts, with the oft-mentioned Miller injury robbing the Broncos of this luxury. If Melvin Gordon can average 4.4 yards per carry on 34 tries like he did against a much scarier Pittsburgh front, and Noah Fant can continue to exploit the mismatches with linebackers and safeties as he has, the 6.5 points Vegas is giving the Broncos again this week just seems excessive. And I believe this is a perfect time for a word from our sponsor, BetMGM. Put our money where your mouth is. I just want to make sure if you are wanting to use my picks or just make your own, make sure you give our sponsor BetMGM a look. Just download the app and use promo code ABONUS. That's ABE bonus to get free bets. Also, follow all of us betting experts from AmericanBettingExperts.com on Twitter for weekly competitions and free money given away constantly. Just follow @CO Sports Fans, that's sports with an S, and DM them for details. And welcome back again to Breaking Broncos with your host, Daniel Wetstein, for the final time today, and we all know what that means. Pick time. As always, all picks are based off lines from our sponsor, BetMGM. With the way this Broncos squad always seems to keep things close, and Tom Brady's publicly known struggles at Mile High, a 4-7 all-time record, including playoffs, has me again taking the Broncos on the spread of 6.5 points at -110, where a $50 bet wins you $95.50. I am also going to take the over on the line of 43.5 points, as this Broncos squad just combined for 48 with the Steelers, and this Tampa Bay defense, while with talent, is nowhere near as scary at any level when compared to Pittsburgh. This next pick may sound contradictory, but bear with me here. I know I told you to take the full game over. This has more to do with the belief in another big second half by the Broncos to at least keep things close. I am also going to take the first half under of 20.5 points at +100, as I believe the first half will be a low-scoring defensive battle that ends up tiring out both sides that leads to a second half explosion of offense. If you have been following my picks here on Breaking Broncos, you are sitting pretty, as I am 5-2 so far. Here's to hoping that continues even more consistently than the injury news. Nothing dulls a rough season like a positive return on investment. Am I right? Now, today's episode will be cut a bit short on the sports, as I feel a need to make a place to remind everyone to vote. 2020 has taken so much from so many. Let's not let our right to vote be another. Not voting is not a protest. It is a surrender. So make sure you register to vote and vote for the candidate of your choice. I am not here to tell you how to vote, only to make sure you get up and do it. Go to rockthevote.org, votevotevote.org, or just Google register to vote, and make sure to cast your ballot this November. No matter what is put in the ether, every vote matters. Get up, get out, and rock the vote. And as always, the answer is 42. Don't question the blue.